If you've ever been told that supporting a child with learning, behavioral, or emotional challenges is all about finding the right therapy for them, you may be missing an important piece of the puzzle: the family. Welcome back to Diverse Thinking, Different Learning. I'm your host, Dr. Karen Wilson. Joining us today is Dr. Addie Soffer, a licensed clinical psychologist who specializes in family systems therapy, psychoeducational assessment, and the treatment of OCD and anxiety disorders. Dr. Soffer's approach recognizes what decades of research has shown, that families function as interconnected systems. And when one member is struggling, the whole system feels it. Today, we'll explore how shifting the focus from fixing the child to strengthening the entire family system can reduce stress, improve relationships, and lead to better outcomes for kids and teens. Let's dive in.
Millions of kids struggle with learning, processing, and social emotional difficulties. These challenges interfere with their ability to reach their full potential. Dr. Karen Wilson is here to help. Her extensive background in pediatric neuropsychology and higher education have prepared her for this unique mission. Listen as she delivers content to inform, educate, and empower parents and educators. This will enable you to identify challenges that kids face and get them on the road to achieving their full potential. This is Diverse Thinking, Different Learning by Child Nexus.
Dr. Soffer, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us. We have a lot to talk about, and I'm really excited to talk to you. And we've had this conversation about why I wanted to have you on the podcast before. And I think I said to you that we haven't actually talked about the family system on the podcast before, not in depth. We kind of touched on it in different episodes, but not a whole episode dedicated to it. So I'm really excited about having this conversation with you, because I feel like from what I know from my own clinical work and what other families report is that when one family member is struggling, the entire family feels the ripple effects in some way.
Yeah, that's very true. And yeah.
Yeah. And it's really, and I think sometimes it's hard to fully understand a child without fully understanding the family system that they're a part of, because that is part of who they are and how they respond to things in their environment and things like that. So maybe we can start by, for those unfamiliar with kind of a family systems approach, when do you use it? How is it used? What is it? And how does it differ from like an individual therapy?
Yeah. So first of all, I have to say that I like to incorporate a family system in basically any client that comes to me. We start with a family therapy. So even when families want to just have the child in therapy, I like to incorporate even just one family session to start with in order to really understand the dynamics and the relationships between the family members, because I always explain to the parent that, when we're dealing with the child does not live in a bubble. They live in this huge system, and everything that the child is experiencing and all the behaviors that they're showing and the emotional regulation, all of those things are being modeled to him by the family members and by the family system. And so it's really important to me to start with at least one family session, but I always like to incorporate parenting and dyadic sessions where the parent and the child comes together, or dyadic between siblings, and just all of that into therapy. I really, truly believe in that. So what I like to do is to start, and we can also have just a complete treatment plan with the whole family. And what is interesting with family therapy is that in a family system, we don't look at one identified patient. There's no identified patients. We want to take a look at the whole system and the whole family as one, right? And so what I like to do, if I can go more in depth with that, is that when I do a family session at the beginning of every treatment, I want to bring everyone that lives in the family, in the house, and I ask the family questions about the family, right? Not about the child. I always tell the parents, we're not going to talk about the problems of your child at this session. We're going to talk about the family, and we're going to talk about the family dynamics. And I ask them questions about what do they like to do as family? What is something that is special to their family? What are the traditions? What are their vacations? What do they look like? Where do they go? How did what about the extended family? How did they are part of this family system? I also specifically, to me, I work a lot with the Jewish and the Israeli community in the city. And so many of these families, they have extended families elsewhere. And so I really want to understand, do they live, like, is it just them living here and everybody else lives elsewhere? Or do they have more family support around them? So it's really important to me to understand that, because that really affects the child, and it really affects where the child is at and how much support does the child have around him from the family side. So we do that, and then we go more into what would you like to change in your family? What is something that you would like to change? And again, we're not talking about the child. It's not only about him or her. It's more about the family. And so this is where I see lots of problems rising, and people start to talk more about, we would like mom to not yell as much. We would like, the siblings to not fight as much. We would like dad to be more involved. We would like all of those things. And this is where you really notice who is against who is in line with who, what is happening in this dynamic, because it's a group dynamic at the end of the day. And then I like, it's a very structured, as you can see, it's a very structured session that I do. And I like to have them play a game, play a board game, and just see the dynamic with the nonverbal communication that I can see in the room. So seeing how, who gets to play first, are all of them going to sit and play, or is one of them going to be more behind, or kind of laid back and not participating? Are they going to accommodate their children? What if one of them is struggling or doesn't know the rules? Are they explaining the rules? What if who's going to win? Are they going to let the child that we're here for, are they going to let him win or her win? That is a big sign that I can see, and why, and what is happening. And so this is a great way to really understand a nonverbal, or the things that they might not say, but they will do because they go back to just behave the way that they like to behave at home. So it's a little glimpse into this family. And then I end with a projective test that you might, that is something that we do a lot in assessments and in testing. But here I do it together, where I ask the family all together to draw a family portrait, but they cannot talk. So this is a way to see how they cooperate with each other, who is drawing who, and how close they are, and how much details do they have, and again, are they all participating together or not? So, and this is, and I always tell that, recently I added associates to my clinic, and I explained to them about this session, and I told them this drawing is a treatment plan. Mm-hmm. It just goes to show you where does the child fit within his family system, and what, everything that we need to see. So it's really interesting with that sense. Now, is this the typical families structured therapy? Not necessarily, but this is something that I learned in the past, and I use it all the time because I really see the benefit of that. But to go a little bit, kind of like more broad, and to explain a little bit more about the idea of family, the structured family therapy, is where we want to understand a little bit more of, again, dynamics between the family members, the communication between the units. So if we have the parental units, are they united in this? Is this units? Are they separated? Where is the child in terms of where do they fit in this dynamic? Were they supposed to be, which is kind of like on the bottom of the structure, or is the child on top and the parents are on the bottom? What is the communication style between them? Are the family or family members enmeshed, meaning there are no boundaries, and they really become one? Or is there a very clear boundary? That's what we want to see, where there is communication between the units, but there are also clear understanding of where does everyone fit, or is it very strict? Is it very rigid boundaries where now there are no communications between, there's no communication between the parent and the child, and that child can feel very dismissed in this family, right?
Right. And I'm really glad that you brought up communication because, we know so much about it. Poor communication patterns, whether it's conflict avoidance or criticism, or you talked about boundaries or even unclear expectations, that can contribute to ongoing stress at home in family members. And it seems like by working with the family, you help them develop healthier communication. And when you do that, it sounds like there can be a shift too in everyone.
Exactly. So that is the idea of this type of therapy, and by including the family members, we want to help them have better communication and to set those clear expectations, as you're saying, the limitations, the boundaries, because at the end of the day, we want to understand that a child will feel a lot more anxious, like you said, like a lot more anxious when they don't know what to expect, when there are no clear routines, when there are no clear boundaries in the house. Every day looks different. It creates a chaos, and it creates a really high anxiety in the child versus a child that knows that one behavior will lead to the next thing. The routine looks the same. The house functions in the same way. When I do this causes that. When, there's a clear just understanding of how the house functions. And so the child doesn't need to worry about that as much. He doesn't need to worry about what is happening around him. And he can be a lot more free to be able to deal with other things, more internal things that are happening to the child, or more individual things that are happening to him, because the house is set. Everything else is set for him.
Yes. And I think that, again, having the expectations set, like you're saying, can reduce the stress in the child. And we know the stress contributes to anxiety and mood disturbance in kids. But then we also, I think by looking at the family, you can also recognize parental stress, because sometimes the parents are bringing the child in for anxiety or something else. And then by examining the family, you realize that there's a great deal of parental stress. And we know from the research that high parental stress impacts a parent's ability to parent and interact with their child, and can even influence child outcomes.
Yeah. And I think yes.
Yes.
Anyways, yes. I think that there are many things that are going into place with that, right? So parental stress on themselves, like if they have their own stress from other things around them, that is big. But also, I think that many parents of kids with anxiety or kids that are highly stressed or worried or, or have some sorts of anxiety, they don't know what to do with their child. And so they give in or they accommodate their child in many, many ways. So they allow this anxiety to stay unknowingly, right? They think that they do the right thing for their child. If my child doesn't want to go to play dates, you know what? So it's okay. Don't worry about it. Just stay home. It's fine. I'll do it. No worries. But then you are helping your child avoid situations that now you basically, as if you're validating this fear, as if there is something to worry about by going to places and seeing people and being out and go to unpredictable events, right? So by us telling them, no, don't worry about it, let's stay home, because you are a parent who has a lot of anxiety, you validate this fear for your child. And so now your child learns that the world is scary and, situations like that are scary and we should avoid them.
Yes. And then by having this family approach that you've been describing, you get to recognize similar patterns in different family members, right? Like you're saying, and how they can contribute, those patterns can contribute to some of the struggles a child might be experiencing.
Exactly. And you can really see, the struggles with anxiety. That's one thing that definitely there's a very structured way to work with parents on how to not accommodate the child's fears and how to approach it differently, and also to model how to, how can I feel, how can I expose myself more to fears and how can I deal with things better. So that's one thing that we can do in that dynamic. And two, we can really see, if we go back and not even just talking about fears and anxiety, if we just go back and understand more about the family structure and to see that many times families come to me and they say, this kid, I have 3 kids, I have 4 kids, I have 2 kids, doesn't matter. But this kid is very problematic. We have to fix him. We have to do something about this kid, right? But then when you look at the family dynamic and we see the whole family in the room, first of all, we might recognize that actually this child is amazing, but the other child could use some help, right? Or we see that the child triggers something in the parent. And so that's why, that's why the child brings out the worst in them, or that's why just the dynamic between the two is so difficult and it's so challenging, because it's not about the child. It's about the parents seeing something that they don't like about themselves, showing in their child.
Yes. And that can be hard when you're describing that and you're, unpacking that for families for them to take in.
Very true. Very true. Yes. And I think that's where the connection is so important in therapy, right? That's where us as clinicians and someone that can relate and can say, you know what, like I have 3 kids. I get it. I understand that. I see it in myself as well. That's natural. Let's normalize it. Let's understand that all emotions are valid. And that's a big part of what I do and what I like to do, especially with parents, is just to validate those feelings that parenthood is not always positive and bright and like not everything is perfect and rainbows and butterflies. And it's okay to slow down and understand things about yourself, that how are you affecting your child's behavior? What is it in you that is triggering your child's problematic behavior? And what can you do to shift that?
Yes. And, one of the things you said at the beginning with the family systems approach is that there's no identified patient. And so you're not bringing in that child to be fixed, and unfortunately some parents, not many, but some parents see it that way. I need you to fix this because it's causing chaos in our home. But without having that identified patient, it also takes the pressure off the child who's experiencing the struggles, because we're all here to better understand how we can make our family better, right? And so it actually decreases the stress that might be felt on that child, thinking, I'm the one causing all of this chaos. I'm the one with the behavioral problems that need to be fixed. It takes that pressure off.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, that's so true. I mean, when we keep telling our kids, you have a problem, you have a problem, you have a problem, these are the bad things that you do, these are the problematic things that you do. When we give a lot of attention to the negative behaviors that we're seeing in them, guess what? The child internalizes that, and the child understands about themselves that, okay, I guess I am stupid. I guess I am problematic and hyper, and I need a lot of attention. I need a lot of, and so they start manifesting that. They start behaving in that way because this is what is expected of them, right? But when we take a step back and we look at the whole family as a system, and we understand that there are many things that can cause it, we help the child feel a lot more, first of all, a lot more seen, right? You're not just your behaviors. And two, it's not just about you. Let's fix everything together. It's let's work in the system to help everyone in the system change.
And I love that. I love that because again, then the focus is again on the family and not on the child. And, when I think about the family approach, I think about teens and I think about adolescents who are often pushing for independence. I mean, they still rely on their families for emotional and practical support, even when they're dealing with, challenges, whether it's anxiety or learning challenges or mood issues, emotional dysregulation. How does your work shift with families when you're supporting a teenager rather than a younger child? It seems there's definitely different dynamics at play there.
You're right. And it's a good question, because I think that when I work with a teen, I also like to positively reinforce that natural need for independence, right? So I do want to give the child a lot more autonomy and responsibility, right? Because these are the two things that go hand in hand. To be more responsible for their therapy, right? So you're going to be the one to schedule, you're going to be the one to cancel. We have this relationship, we have this place, but I still want to know how the family function. I still want to know how the parental side is communicating or not communicating, or again, this there's sometimes some triads or triangulations between the teen and their parents and what is happening there. So it's still very important to work with the parents and with the other siblings as well. I think that it's still very, very valid, especially at this challenging time, that on the one hand, you really want your autonomy and you want to be independent and you really care more about your friends and your identity rather than your family. And that's how it should be. This is completely developmentally appropriate, but there are still struggles from the parental side. Now, sometimes I tell the parents, hey, dealing with a teenager until dealing with a toddler is the same. They just don't see it that way. I mean, right. Teenagers throw tantrums left and right. And so the parents need to understand how to deal with that and what to do about it and how to place this same type of consequences and the same communication style, and to not go to this place of enmeshment again, to really do everything for your child and be part of your child and not set them free and let them deal with life on their own, but rather create this strict, not strict, but clear boundaries, expectations, limitations that fit better for that age.
Right. And when you say that, I think about family therapy and how family systems approach can really be a catalyst for growth in all family members, right? Because you're talking about improving communication, having people be more aware of boundaries and their role in contributing to stress in any other family member. And we also mentioned conflict before, because, conflict is in every family. There is going to be conflict. There's no way to avoid it, but many families avoid conflict. But in therapy, there's that opportunity to see that pattern and then address it, because that in and of itself, they feel like they're avoiding stress by avoiding conflict, but that leads to other issues.
That's very true. That's very true. And I noticed that a lot, again, when you bring the whole family into a room, and at the beginning, maybe they feel a little bit more like reluctant to share and take this like a step back approach. It's not about me. It's about him. It's about them. It's about just pointing fingers. And then soon enough, when they feel safe and they feel like, okay, you know what? It's not about one of us. It's about us as a team, as like, how do we work together? And that's what I always tell every family that I work with. You guys are a team. You guys are on the same, it's on the same side. You work for it benefits the whole group. And you're not against each other. And so we're all here for the same reason. And so they start to align and they start to understand that we should talk about it more. Now, one other thing is that I like to help parents, especially parents, communicate and talk about their own feelings as well. Because there is something that, and it's funny, we just talked about it this morning in supervision, but there's something that we notice with parents is that when they get into this role as a parent and not their own individual self, and they come to therapy, again, they come and they say things about their child and all their emotions and everything that is about their experiences is related to the child all the time, right? But I actually want to encourage them through therapy to talk about their own individual selves as well, and to be able to explain the child that they also have, when the child goes to school, they have their own lives and they have their own, true self, an identity and problems and emotions, and not all emotions are always positive. And how do they deal with their emotions? And so that is a big part when I do those dyadic sessions, especially like those a little bit of like mom and child, dad and child, child and sibling, those like little dynamics, is that I like to play emotional Jenga. And I like to play it as well, so I can model how I talk about my feelings. So that's where we have, the Jenga tiles or bricks or whatever, and on each one we have an emotion. And when we play the game and we take one, there's an emotion attached to it, and then everyone gets the turn to share a time that they felt that emotion, right? And so when we share that, and when I model the parent as well, that I have my own feelings and they're not related to the child. They're just, I had a difficult time today at work and I'm going to talk about that. And now you're going to share something that is not related to your child, that is more specific to you. And then the child starts to look at the parent and be like, wait, you have emotions too. You're not just my parent. You have other struggles and other areas of growth and all of those things. And guess what? This is the best way to model how to express emotions, deal with problems, problem solve, and regulate and normalize everything that we can experience. So that's on itself is a great intervention to help families, going back to your question, to help families communicate more, talk about problems more, share more about the internal world and not just what we always see, and start relying on family members for for things that are happening within us.
Yes. And I feel like when, the example you just gave, particularly with teens who are very egocentric, it's all about them and everything that's happening in their world. It allows them, like you're saying, to get insight into their parent, right? Get insight into, it actually builds empathy because you realize, oh, I've been so focused on my issues with my friends and my cohort and not having this and not having that, that I didn't even realize that dad was dealing with this at work and mom was dealing with this, at work. And so it allows, again, a recognition of similar feelings that a child or a teen might be having in another family member, but also builds that empathy. And by doing that, builds that connection with the parent as well.
Very true. It's really interesting that just yesterday, I had a teen, he's 16-year-old. He came back from a month away. He was at those overnight camps. And he came back home and I had a session with his parents earlier this week. And now I had a session with him. And he shared obviously about himself and about everything, that he experienced and all of that and his struggles and all good. And then I ended the session by telling him, you went away for a month, but your parents were also away from you for a month. And when you came back, you didn't hug them. You didn't recognize the fact that they also have feelings and they also wanted to come and see you after a month away. And so just recognize this idea and understand that now your mom is hurt. And he became silent and he just took it in. And he sat there for about 3 to 4 minutes, just silent. And he was like, I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was huge, right?
Yes. I mean, that really, it really fosters that introspection, right? You're giving them another perspective, allowing them to put themselves in someone else's shoes. And that's so important. When I think about a lot of the kids I work with, kids who are struggling with learning, many also struggle with mental health issues. We know that when you strengthen the family relationship at home, it carries over into other aspects of a child's life. It carries over into school. It carries over into their ability to be motivated and engaged in the classroom. So it feels like the work that you do when you work with families has so many more benefits beyond just communication and cohesion in the family unit.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's, I think that also just the relationship that we have within in the room with the client and in the room with the family, when we work on these, again, type of communication and problem solving and social skills. Social skill is a huge thing that we can do by helping the family function better and by helping, I mentioned before, again, the playing the board game and seeing if they let the child win. And I always go back to it and I always want to emphasize this idea that our job as parents is not to make our children happy. Our job as parents is to help the child grow into a functional person in this world. And how can they, adapt better to things that are happening around them. So if we always let them win, and if we always just play whatever they want to play, and if we always just, again, accommodate everything that they're telling us, how will they learn to deal with, with difficulties and challenges when other kids don't want to play with them? How will they learn how to communicate with other people if we always talk about their preferred topics? So by us engaging with them differently and helping the family, again, helping the parents, the siblings, everyone in the household, engage with the child in a way that is very supportive, right? We definitely don't want to just be super harsh on them. Supportive and there's a huge benefit to this unconditional love that we will always be there and give them. So we want to be very supportive, but also to stop them and say, you know what, like we've been talking about this topic forever. Like I'm not interested to talk about it anymore. Let's move to something else. Or, I'm going to win this time and you're going to have to face it. Or we're going to play what I want to play right now. Or we're going to watch what I want to watch right now. Or you're going to listen to this adult conversation and find a way to come in and reflect on that. And that can help them build this resilience and social skills and understanding of how to function in a social world.
Yes, I say yes to everything you just said. It's so important. It is so important because so many parents want the best. Every parent wants the best for their child, right? Everybody wants to do the best for their child, like you say. But I think one thing that really resonated with me and will resonate with a lot of families is that our job is not to make your kids happy, right? Our job is to prepare them for the world and to build that resilience that you mentioned, because they will make mistakes. They will fail at certain things. They will be rejected. And it's our job to prepare them so that they can face those situations, right? Without becoming emotionally distressed each time, right?
Yeah.
And being able to cope with that and being flexible and to be able to protect themselves. And I think that's such an important skill to be able to help them build.
Very true. Very true. And it's something that I noticed actually recently, that parents don't feel comfortable having their child being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Right? And so they always feel this need to protect their child from being uncomfortable. Go to school with no homework, deal with it. Fail at this class, deal with it. Go to this summer camp that you don't know any friends there and you have no idea, and I have no idea what you're going to do there. But guess what? We have to deal with it. We have to just learn how to adapt and learn together. And also, don't feel as a parent that you always have to have all the answers. We don't know. We don't know how life will look like. We don't have crystal balls. And so, I work with, it goes with like all the families that I work with currently that are facing, now that we're going to the next school year. Some kids are moving schools. Some kids are shifting from one school to another, or going to just a different grade with a different teacher. And there's so much unknown that us as parents, and that's what I say around me, that many parents just feel like they have to protect their child from this unknown. But again, this is our anxiety. This is our experience. This is something that maybe we've experienced as children, and we don't want our children to feel. But guess what? Your child needs to deal with it. And they need to learn how to adapt to the new teacher, to the new school, to new social environments. And instead of sugarcoating everything, just let it be and understand that we, again, don't know, don't expect that everything is going to be rainbows and butterflies, and don't expect that everything is going to be the worst case scenario. I think that it will be somewhere in between. Let's go and deal with it.
Yes. And I think, again, there are going to be parents who are listening to this who are thinking, I think I might need to switch my child from individual to a family approach. I maybe need to incorporate some family sessions or to try a family systems approach. So and I'm thinking about those people who are listening right now, and I know that this is going to really resonate with a lot of people. Is there one thing a family could do, for example, who's listening and they want to make a shift toward a healthier, more connected family system? And while they're waiting to get in to see you or someone else, is there something that they can be doing at home that would foster that healthier, more connected system that you might make recommendations for the families that you see?
Wow, I'm trying to think about it. What would be the one thing? I think that again, maybe taking a step back and understanding that there's no one one to blame for the situation right now. And if everyone could shift their attention to focus on what actually works within the family system and what is good in the child, what is good within the sibling unit and the parental unit, and what are the strengths of the family, by just shifting that attention to just think about what actually works now, the family can see that the vibe in the house will change.
I love that. Because so often the thing that's wrong sticks out, right? And is the thing that's top of mind. But again, focusing on what's working, what's going well with our family right now. That shift can make all the difference in the world. I appreciate you saying that. Dr. Soffer, thank you so much for joining us. This has been such a great conversation. If families want to connect with you, what is the best way for them to reach out? Is it a website, an email? Where should we send them?
Yeah, so we have our website that I'm sure that you can share, and they can also call me, and I'm very available to talk to anyone and to give this, about 15-minute free consultation call to see if we are the right fit for them.
Wonderful. And I will put a link to your website and give your contact information in the show notes for sure. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
If you're listening to this and thinking, my family could really use this kind of support, you are not alone. And if you'd like to learn more about family therapy, be sure to reach out to Dr. Soffer. Her contact information is in the show notes. And if today's conversation resonated with you, I am inviting you to join our community at childnexus.com. There you can sign up for our newsletter to get expert advice, resources, and information about upcoming events right in your inbox. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Diverse Thinking, Different Learning by Child Nexus. For more resources, visit us online at childnexus.com.